This article first appeared on Den of Geek UK. In theaters all over the world in 1977, audiences thrilled at the sights and sounds of Star Wars. Harking back to a bygone age of Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, it also pointed forward to the coming age of ubiquitous computers and special effects-led blockbusters. But while the triumphant fanfare of John Williams' score gave Star Wars a confident swagger, its success was far from preordained. George Lucas reworked his script time and again studios turned his concept down, and even the production was rushed and torturous. By now, the contribution George Lucas, John Williams and Star Wars cast made to cinema is well documented. But what about some of the other artists, technicians, and fellow filmmakers who helped to make the movie such a success? Here's a look at 10 unsung heroes behind Star Wars. Francis Ford Coppola. George Lucas was still a film student when he befriended the up-and-coming director Francis Ford Coppola, who was then on the cusp of his 70s success with movies like Patton, The Godfather, and The Conversation. In many ways, Lucas and Coppola were total opposites. The book Easy Riders, Raging Bulls paints a portrait of an overbearing, brash Coppola with a talent for self-promotion, while Lucas is described as quiet and unassuming. Nevertheless, the two became partners for many years. The pair even formed the independent film studio American Zoetrope in 1979. Lucas's debut feature, THX 1138, was produced through the company. It wasn't a huge hit, but Coppola continued to encourage Lucas to write and direct. Coppola came to me and said, "No more of these experimental science fiction robot movies," Lucas later recalled in an interview with Stephen Colbert. "I dare you to do a comedy. Join Amazon Prime, watch thousands of movies and TV shows anytime, start free trial now." That comedy was American Graffiti, a coming-of-age drama that, despite the misgivings of its distributor, Universal, became a colossal hit. Coppola was keen for Lucas to make Apocalypse Now after American Graffiti, and was slightly mystified that Lucas was so intent on making a film for 10-year-olds, as it was widely perceived, rather than a more respectable war film. But Lucas pressed on with his Star Wars script, somehow ignoring his own dissatisfaction and the bemused comments of his peers. Despite Coppola's misgivings over Star Wars, the pair remained friends. Lucas even took inspiration from Coppola when creating the character Han Solo. Imagine the Empire as Hollywood movie studios, and Han Solo becomes the lovable rogue filmmaker, skating along the edge of the precipice, as the Easy Riders, Raging Bulls author Peter Biskind puts it. Ralph McQuarrie. While Lucas spent many hours arranging his nascent ideas for Star Wars into a workable draft, he turned to illustrator and designer Ralph McQuarrie to come up with some early concept art. Even though he didn't necessarily think that Star Wars would ever get made, too expensive, he said, McQuarrie liked Lucas' sci-fi concept, and with his imagination fired up, he created a range of location and character designs which greatly influenced how the finished film would look. McQuarrie's visuals for characters like R2-D2 and C-3PO are very similar to those that appeared in 1977, while the artist's suggestion of giving Darth Vader his wheezing face mask would have a huge bearing on the villain's screen presence. When Lucas submitted his script to 20th Century Fox for approval, he provided copies of McQuarrie's artwork. Without McQuarrie's concepts, it's possible that Star Wars would never have been given the green light. After Star Wars, his first film as a concept artist, McQuarrie worked on the 2 sequels and a string of other classic films, including Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Alan Ladd Jr. When it came to trying to find backers for Star Wars, Lucas was famously met with blank faces all over Hollywood. Studio after studio, including Universal, United Artists, and Disney, were singularly unmoved by Lucas' wide-eyed space fantasy. Finally, Lucas found a receptive mind in Alan Ladd Jr., a producer and head of 20th Century Fox. then still in his late 30s, Ladd, or Laddie as he was commonly referred to, was a little more open-minded than most of the older Hollywood moguls in power at the time, and impressed by Lucas and Ralph McQuarrie's artwork, agreed to fund the project for a relatively small $8.25 million. Brian De Palma. There's a legendary story that Lucas screened an early cut of Star Wars for a few of his Hollywood friends, among them John Milius, Steven Spielberg, and Brian De Palma. It did not go well. De Palma, in particular, was vocal about the rough cut's failings, mocking its repeated references to the Force and its lengthy opening title crawl. Nevertheless, De Palma proved something of a help to Lucas, that dismal screening aside. According to Dale Pollux v.